Good evening, Big Brother fans. It is Sunday, August 1st, and it is now 8:40 p.m. I started recording at 8:10 p.m. while I was out walking my dog. I have gotten a phone call. I have had to stop because I ran into a couple of the dogs that I had to pull my dog aside for. I have re-ran into those dogs. I have stopped for other people. I have found every reason in the world to either accidentally have to stop or get sidetracked to the point where it's like, okay, I'm restarting it. So, and I'm saying all of this at the beginning of this one to explain why this one is going to be so short. Because, folks, I'm going to keep this one short. We're going to get to the right to the meat of it, and I will do a better job tomorrow on my way to work when I do my next CarCast. So, that all being said, I hope you're all doing well. I think my last CarCast yesterday that I did was about 40 minutes long. I think I did it right during the Power Veto competition, so I don't think we knew that Christian had won. But Christian won. Derek X, Claire, and Azza were the three extra players. According to Derek X, Christian kind of killed it. So there's that. He should have a huge target painted on his back. I don't know. It still seems to me like some of the guys are like, we just need to keep him on our side. Versus I would think, maybe we should start to think about getting rid of him before he gets much further in the game. But, I don't know. I watched Xavier skipping rope today and doing all kinds of fancy stuff, and I thought, okay, there's another person who's putting a huge target on their back with their physical skills. I just don't recall, and I guess maybe guys lifting weights, but I don't know, man. Showing yourself off like that, whether you realize it or not, if you think it's an intimidation factor, it may also be putting a target. I don't think they think it's intimidation. Part of me thinks they're just not thinking of it. So other than Christian winning the Power Veto, which means it's not going to get used. He's not going to use it as much as she would like it to get, as much as Whitney would like it to get used. It's not going to get used. And Whitney's going to go home Thursday. Although Whitney has said she's going to stir things up a bit. We'll see. We'll see if she actually does. I'm not convinced she will. But hey, if she does, great. Let's give us some good feeds. Because I do have people complaining to me that the feeds are boring, that it's not exciting this year. And it's like, okay, what exactly do you want? We don't have some of the other issues we've had in recent years with the live feeds. At least I don't think we've had any. And the house guests are all fairly likable. They may be annoying to a certain extent, but they're not horrible. I mean, if the worst that we're getting is that Brent was a bit of a douche is the word that comes to mind, and I'm the one who said it, but if that's the worst of it, then we're not doing too bad. And he's out of the house now. So now we're down to, we're getting rid of Whitney. Why are we getting Whitney? Because she, in theory, is too close to the other guys. Or too close to the guys. She's not close enough to the girls. She doesn't have a strong alliance with somebody. There's just a little bit ticky-tacky reasons to get rid of her. And, that's going to happen. Then the question is, who's next? But it's, this is when the alliances are going to start to crack, in my opinion. This is it. After this one, I don't know how they can manage to continue to get, to keep putting up people and finding excuses as to why it's okay. For Whitney, they were trying to tell Whitney, that Hannah's the target, or that Derek X was the target, but it's not going to get changed tomorrow, and she's going to know that they were lying to her, or that people were making it up, and when they don't use it, they're going to try to convince that Hannah's still the target, but she already knows Hannah's not the target. She's already said, I think I'm going. And she'll get it, she'll accept it, and that'll be the end of that. These guys are already plotting for next week. I'm saying all this, realizing I'm making it sound like it's boring, but they're doing a lot of maneuvering, a lot of talking. The one example of that would be Kylan and Sarah Beth talking this afternoon in the storage room, and Sarah Beth is basically grilling Kylan about how come he's not all gung-ho, how come she's the one out in front wanting to get rid of Hannah, and nobody else seems to see this as an issue. Well, what Sarah Beth doesn't know about, apparently, is the cookout. And the Cookout Alliance ain't going to get rid of Hannah, and I think the Cookout Alliance is starting to wade into tricky waters because they're all trying to justify some of their actions to other people when it's hard to do that, because why are we doing things a certain way? You're on my team. Why aren't you protecting, why are you going this way? This doesn't make sense. If they knew about the Cookout Alliance, it would make sense to them. But these people, most of them do not know about it or know exactly the details. Actually, all of them, I think. Was it Hannah just got the name? Is that what it was? Azza told the name. I think it was to Hannah. But yeah, so it's. I think it's going to hit the fan. This next head of household. The other thing, so in the end, Kylan kind of poo-pooed it to Sarah Beth, and she seemed to be like, "Yeah, I'm okay, and we're all right." But in reality, I don't think she felt they were. I think she's just she's still worried about it, but she wasn't so worried. Kylan basically said, "Oh, Sarah, Hannah's on my radar, just not next week, more in a couple of weeks or 3 weeks." And to me, that was just Kylan kicking the can down the road to deal with it. So, other than that, I mean, there's been various things like this going. That was the one that I paid attention to and listened to. But there's been no major stuff going on in the last 24 hours. There's been lots and lots of talk, but it's all talk that's going to change over the course of the next 2 or 3 days. Nobody has exposed themselves too much, although I think Derek did imply. Who was it? Who said it? Was it maybe Derek F or X talked about next week when there's going to have to be, there's only 2 of them, they're going to have to be have-nots, and he kind of said it with Hannah there, implying that, or with Whitney there, implying that Whitney would be gone, or at least one of them would be gone. Well, really though, that would have been valid to say because Derek thought he was the back door. So if Derek thinks he's the back door, one of the 3 of them is going this week, so 2 of them will be back for have-nots. But Whitney seemed to interpret it that it was being directed at her. So, that's awkward. There's another thing I mentioned about Tiffany and her math. I don't know, folks. I've heard people say that Tiffany says she's bad at math. I know she said it to the other house guests, but has she actually admitted it either like in her resume going into the house? Has she admitted it to just the camera when nobody else is there? I want to know, is she really that bad? Does she really need to practice that bad? Because she ain't going to learn it this quick. No one's going to teach her times tables or her addition tables this quick in the house. It's just not going to happen. So I think she's decent at them, and I think she's just using it as a way to show weakness and to pretend, oh, look how weak I am. I know my friend Scott was complaining today about Tiffany villainizing people and them being the next target, and like how could who's the next person that Tiffany's going to kind of point her laser focus at is going to go, because she kind of did point her laser focus right at Whitney last week and said she's going next, and I know Scott was just kind of annoyed more than anything, but honestly it's kind of what Derek did. Derek would he didn't do it the same quite way as Tiffany, but he did kind of point the gun and say, all right, you're next, all right, you're next, all right, you're next, and he kind of picked them off too. And I'm not putting Tiffany on the same level of Derek yet, but I will say, and as I said a while ago, Tiffany's got an awful good resume at this point, this early in the game, of things that she has done without necessarily winning anything. And I don't count the one competition that she won, well, wild card, which was basically a throwaway that she and Derek conspired to let her win. By the way, as someone pointed out, which she had to do math in that one. So, how bad is she really at math? All right. That's it. I'm going to wrap it up. I was going to talk about each house guest, but frankly, I have, as I said, restarted this I've restarted this 3 times, and I'm going to wrap it up. I'm going to go home and watch tonight's episode, see what happened in the actual wildcard competition that we really don't know the details of yet. What I did hear, and I may have mentioned it yesterday, but I'm not sure, someone told me, or a couple of people said that Claire's options, and most of you probably already know this, nice. Claire's options apparently were you could give 1 week safety to your whole team, or you can take safety until jury. And she opted to take safety until jury. So there's a little bit of a risk there in ticking off the rest of her Tiffany, Claire, Tiffany, and Derek X. She's a risk of ticking off Derek X and Tiffany, but you know what? they were probably fine with it and said, no, you're right to do that. And I don't think that's a bad, I don't think that's going to hurt Claire in the end that she did that. So she's safe until jury, which really means she got 2 weeks of safety, because the jury's going to be, we should have 5 people evicted, and that's usually when you're at the jury. And finally, what I was talking about before I so rudely was interrupted by, actually I touched the wrong button. I don't even know how I did it. Suddenly I was hearing myself talk. Was the endurance competition. The next endurance competition, and maybe I'll talk about this. I'm writing up a Twitter thread about it, and I will post it maybe tonight, where I list all the different kinds of endurance competitions it could be, only because someone tweeted at me that it's going to be the wall. It's like, dude, we don't know this for sure. We do not know that it's going to be the wall. Is it going to be the wall? Probably, but we don't know that for sure. Nobody said it. It's not something for sure it's going to be. It's just what it has been a lot. You have 11 people that are going to have to be competing. That really does lend itself to the wall. You can't have 11 people doing slip and slide, even though they already did a version of slip and slide kind of this year in the wild card, I think it was, competition. So it's probably not going to be the slip and slide. But it could be the chicken coop. It could be a couple of others. But the one that, the button would be the other one. The pressure cooker button holding one would be another one that you could throw 11 people at. But that one tends to be one that's hard, that they don't really do anymore. They haven't really done since in the same way since Big Brother 6, when it went 14 hours. But they have done a modified version of that in a couple of different ways. One way was when they have, in Big Brother Over the Top, they held these little night sticks. They did it in Big Brother 20 as well, I think. Was it 20 or 21? They had to basically hold something across, like 10 feet away with a pole. They had to basically press this pole holding something up. Or in the night one was they had to hold a jousting stick and kind of keep it held. And once they dropped, they were out. And that is a version of the button, except for you're struggling to hold the button. It's not just I'm standing right next to it pushing the button. That's a possibility. They could do something like that. I would love it if they don't do the wall, only because everybody seems to think it's going to be the wall. And then somebody else tweeted at me that they hope it's not too long, because that's just be hard on the live feeders. We're like, okay, I'll be honest with you. I don't need a 14-hour competition. I'm a bit older than I was when Big Brother 6 was on. I have a bit different lifestyle than I did when Big Brother 6 was on. I could do with it not being a 14-hour competition too. But on the other hand, I'm like, come on, damn it. You're supposed to be a fan. What do you mean you don't want a 14-hour competition? That's a true endurance competition. We want people to really give a care about it, not make deals and get down and have it last 14 minutes or an hour or 2 hours. But it'll last an hour or 2 hours, and then it'll be back. That's my guess. It won't be a 14-hour jobber. All right, with that, I'm going to sign off. Thank you to my patrons. Thank you to everybody else as well. We'll hopefully have more to talk about tomorrow on my CarCast. And again, thanks everyone. Appreciate it. And you have a good rest of your evening if you're hearing this Sunday night. See ya. Bye-bye.